moral value.
I mean,
That's why.
yeah, most vegans can believe that, but the
Yeah, so
vegan
that
that
means your claim
I'm
is not
referring to
correct.
really advocate for that.
Because,
It's just
but I'm
saying
saying,
that
given that
moral value.
condition, I'm saying, just hear me. I'm saying, given that claim or this agreement, your claim could not be correct. It could not be the case that vegans believe in possible case scenarios where eating animals is okay if they believe that there are no possible case scenarios in which eating human beings is okay. Considering that you believe that human beings and animals have equivalent moral value, which is something you agree most vegans shake hands on.
Which was
Yeah,
careless.
if
That's what careless was trying to say.
the claim would only be false if you were saying that all humans have the same value.
Yeah, the point is simply you just said majority of vegans do in fact agree that humans and animals have equivalent moral value, which is the relevant value in this conversation, considering this an ethical discourse, right? And so I'm saying that's incompatible with making another independent assertion, which is that there are cases in which vegans would hold to the belief that it is completely fine to eat animals.
Well, no, I'm saying that it'd be completely fine. I'm not saying that the vegan would be able to believe that it's completely fine to eat animals. I'm just saying that in some extreme scenarios, it might
Yeah,
be
I'm saying they would not
permissible to
believe
eat
that in
animals.
any scenario whatsoever it's fine or okay.
Wait, can you repeat what you said again?
I'm saying you would have to agree that they cannot believe this. They can't believe in any scenario, even in extreme scenarios. It is okay.
Well, a majority of vegans might be able to believe this, but I don't think they wouldn't like it would be impossible for them to believe this.
But you
They still hold
understand the
to the vegan.
concession, right? Because you said specifically that vegans, most vegans, if not all vegans, would believe that it is okay under extreme scenarios to eat animals. Now you're saying that's not the case.
No, wait, what?
What you said originally in this conversation, or rather in the conversation between you and Careless, is that vegans, they can, and by vegans, you're talking about the general case scenario, they can believe this. They can believe that in extreme scenarios, this is true. I'm saying that's not the case. Now you're agreeing that's not the case. You agree
What?
most vegans don't.
What?
It's in
No,
fact
what?
incompatible with this.
Wait, no, what I was agreeing to hear is that most vegans don't believe it's permissible to actually eat animals with like no incentive.
Most vegans don't believe that eating animals is permissible without intent.
Well, no, not intent, but something that makes the situation such that if you were to eat an animal, something like terrible would happen to you, or like you're just not physically able to restrict you from eating the animal. Like something about your situation makes it necessary that you have to eat animal.
So you agree? You say that this is the belief that most vegans hold to the by the way.
I think that most vegans
Yeah, but
hold the
then
belief.
there's still a contradiction because you'd have to be saying this, but you mentioned the previous that most vegans don't believe that it is okay to eat human beings, even under extreme biomedical case scenarios. So there's an obvious inconsistency.
Well, no, because like you could just make a distinction between like justification.
You can't.
The action
Remember,
being
you
actually
said that humans and animals have equivalent moral value, and this is held by most vegans, so they cannot do this.
Yeah, they can believe that humans and animals have equivalent moral value. Most vegans can believe that, but I don't think that would entail that.
Exactly.
They
So
don't believe.
whatever distinction they draw would not be a moral distinction.
Well,
So
no,
it wouldn't
I don't
justify.
think that. Well, no, I think that you could. Okay, I think that you could draw like I think that you could draw a moral distinction. It wouldn't be a morally relevant distinction.
No, that's retarded, right? Look, a moral distinction is just any difference between two or more objects which is relevant to the contribution or the composition or creation of the moral value assigned to the object. If you're stipulating that these two objects have equivalent moral value, then there's no moral distinction by definition. How could there be? How could there be a moral distinction? How could there be a moral distinction which is not morally relevant? A moral distinction, by definition, is something which is relevant to the formulation of one's ethical system or ethical value system.
Well, why would I agree to that definition of moral distinction?
Why would you base your definition on moral distinction? What are you
No,
saying?
no. Why would I agree to the definition you just gave me?
Because a moral distinction, by definition, is what this would actually be representative of.
Yeah,
You're
I was
not
just
agreeing with
asking
the
why should I
definition.
accept that definition?
Did I ever say in this conversation you should accept this definition?
I'm not saying that you're telling me that I ought to accept it, but I'm just saying that
So
what
what's up
about the
with these
definition?
real bad faith questions, right?
I'm referring to a sense of being theoretically better. So what about this definition is better than another
Theoretically
definition that's
better is
been
not the same as
negatively
being morally better or morally justified or whatever it's
you're not
called.
understanding what I'm saying. I'm talking about the
I
definition
am.
itself, not I'm talking about the definition itself, not what
So you
the
don't
not
think
we're
a
not the
moral
moral.
distinction.
Wait,
You
can
don't
you
think
just
a moral
can you
distinction.
just let me can you just let me finish? Okay. What I'm saying is that you gave me a definition for moral distinction, so it's like that definition makes a moral distinction the same thing as a morally relevant distinction. So under your view, a moral distinction and a morally relevant distinction are the
A
same
moral
thing. I'm
distinction,
simply just
Rizzhan, is a
asking you.
distinction
I'm
drawn for the
just
basis
asking
of
you. Wait,
justified
can you let me
inaction.
finish? I'm just asking you. Asking you. Why is it the case that you think that this is the best and most adequate definition of a moral distinction?
Okay, look, I'm not making any normative claim in semantics, like what definition you ought. All I'm stating there is a moral distinction, even given the way you're using it, would actually entail the fucking conclusion I'm actually saying, which is simply that a moral distinction is just any distinction drawn between two objects, X and Y, for the sake of morally justified an action being applied to Y and not X. That's a definition you're agreeing with, correct?
No, I just told you. What
Correct?
about this definition? Wait, you didn't
So it's
answer
a
my
yes.
question.
So it's a
You
yes. You
didn't
agree
answer
with this
my question.
definition. So how is it the case? So how
No,
is
I
so you
don't
agree
agree
with
with
that?
the definition. That's the whole
So
point. I'm
you
blaming
don't.
definition
So
for.
tell me. So to be clear, you don't believe that the definition that you're using for distinction is a distinction drawn
I need
between
that
two
the whole
objects. So
point
I'm
of
still
being
talking.
the
Give
whole
me a
point
second,
of
because
being
you
a
were actually
statement.
interrupting a while ago.
Wait,
You were
you
actually
didn't let
interrupting
me
a while
finish.
ago about.
You,
You
wait,
actually
you,
interrupted a while ago, and
yeah,
you
but no,
complained
but you
about my
interrupted me
interruption.
when I was speaking as well. Like,
Yeah,
I
of
don't
course.
like
And
what.
so if I was interrupting you and you had an issue with that, then that doesn't justify you interrupting me afterwards. You don't have an issue with interruptions, right? So my
Wait,
point is
but
simply
you interrupted me even after I said that. Can you not interrupt me? Like,
that's the point, right? So if you don't
I don't
want
think
someone
that
to
you
interrupt you, then don't interrupt them
I don't
afterwards.
think that I don't think that you
So
value
so I'm
people
justifying
being
you speaking over
interrupted
me.
in
Correct?
this
So
situation.
again, are we gonna pray? Gonna
I
pray?
just told you that I'm in a state of agnosticism on the definition, so I neither agree nor disagree with the definition.
Okay, so I don't think you're understanding, right? The point I'm making is simply that if you're going to disagree with the idea that moral distinction is a distinction drawn for morally justified an action, then how in the fucking world is that a moral distinction?
Wait, can you repeat the first part of what you said?
Is it the case that moral distinction is a distinction drawn for the sake of morally justifying why an action X is applied to object A instead of object B?
Look, in some cases it might. I don't know why I'd believe that would be in all cases. You'd have to give me something case for that.
So a moral distinction is not the distinction made between something related to odd values or moral
In
values.
some cases it can, but again, I needed
In
like an argument.
which cases
I need
don't,
I
in
need an
which
argument
cases
for
does
why
it
it's the
not?
case.
In which cases does it not involve this sort of distinction?
Well, I
Give me
just told you
one
that I'm
case.
agnostic on the proposition. So I want you to motivate
Give me
me.
one case.
Since you're
So
the
you're
one.
agnostic on the.
Wait, you
That's a
didn't let me
concession.
finish. Wait, you didn't
Wait,
let me
that's a
finish.
concession.
You didn't
You
let
did
me.
not make me
Wait,
finish
you
previously.
didn't let me
So you're
finish.
agnostic on the
You didn't let me.
proposition. You're agnostic on the
Let me
proposition
finish. Wait,
that
you didn't
moral
let me finish. You
distinction
didn't let me.
necessarily relies on odd
You
values,
didn't let me
but you're making
finish.
a knowledge claim that your definition is distinct from this sort of condition. That's a
When
contradiction.
did I make that
How
claim?
can
Oh
you
my
be
god!
agnostic on
Just
whether or
let me
not
finish,
your
bro.
definition satisfies this condition,
Can
but
we ask,
no,
bro?
the
Can you
proposition
just
that
let
your
me finish
definition
what
does
I was
not
saying?
satisfy this
Because you literally
condition,
just
which makes
interjected
you
me
believe that your
five
definition
seconds
is
into the
different from the
sentence
definition
that I
I've
was
given.
making. You
I just gave you the
interjected.
articulation of why you
You
can't.
just interject.
No,
Okay.
you said a while ago. You said a while
Yeah.
ago that it is the case that you have knowledge. You know it to be the case. Your definition is different from the definition I've given of a moral distinction. Then you said
When did I
afterwards
say
that
that?
you said this by you saying that's not the definition you're using or you're agreeing with, dumb fuck. So again, you
Yeah, I
know
said
it
that
to
I'm
be the case. You're
agnostic
not
on it,
agreeing
which
with this.
entails that.
No,
I
it
said
does
I'm
not. You can be
agnostic on it,
agnostic
which
on the
entails that.
proposition and believe in that proposition. It does not entail this retard. Try
You do
again. But
understand?
look,
Wait, you do understand that
clock
being a
in. You're
agnostic
not
on a
clocking in,
proposition
buddy. Look,
entails you
you're not
need
clocking in.
I let me finish because if you're not gonna
Agnosticism
let me
does
finish,
not entail disbelief. You just made the
if you're not gonna let
false
me finish,
claim.
we
You
can
just
wrap it
stated
up.
agnosticism entails disbelief. What are you even talking about? You're tripping the fuck
Wait,
out. You're making your own
if
philosophy
you
right.
want, oh my god, if you want, then
You said you're
if you want
agnostic
to
on the
like continue the
proposition, not that you
conversation,
don't believe in the
if you want
proposition.
to continue the conversation, if you want to continue the conversation, then I think that it would be best if you actually just let me finish, like what I'm saying, because you interrupted me
You
five
should have
seconds
let me
into what I
finish a
was
while
saying.
ago also, but you did not, right? So,
Wait, but you've
Mhm.
interrupted me more time than I have, which just tells you
But you
something about
agree
the
that you've
conversation.
interrupted me, correct?
I've interrupted you 2 times. You've interrupted me
That
five
doesn't matter
times, or
because the
even more.
whole the dialectical rule you're establishing here is that I should not interrupt you, right?
Yeah, and
At any moment.
anytime I interrupt you, and you say that I interrupt you, I stop speaking. You don't do that.
That's just an appeal to hypocrisy, right? Oh, you have
Wait,
done this, so I'm gonna do
how
it
is that an
too.
appeal to? You're just going on to a meta point.
Yo, I
You're
ain't
the
gonna
one
lie,
who's
you
Like
going on
just
a
if
dead
you
meta
ass
have,
point
cut
by
him off.
complaining
I
about
ain't gonna lie,
interruptions.
you
Rizzhan,
Your
you
have
was
to
debate
about you was
throwing
understand.
about
me,
to explain
your
it and you
debate
cut him off
throwing
as
me
soon as
in
he
how
started
many times I interrupted
But
your point? What are you talking about?
you'd understand what, okay. You'd understand what I was saying if you
You said
literally just
agnosticism
let me finish the
entails
sentence I
disagreement on
was
the
making.
proposition.
Because
You said
because
agnosticism
again,
entails disagreement on the
okay,
proposition.
so what I said, okay, so what I said
Okay.
earlier is that
Bro, I'm low-key
you
rusty
get
debating, bro. Holy shit. Continue.
wait. You okay? What I said earlier is that you gave a definition, right? And I'm simply just saying that I'm agnostic on the definition.
No,
Now
you said you
let's
don't agree
analyze.
with that.
Like,
Initial.
I'm 10 seconds in. I'm 10 seconds in to actually responding
Yeah,
to
you're
the
10
argument that you
seconds
just
in and you
made.
already started lying. Yeah.
No, I'm
It's
not.
crazy,
I
right?
just told you that. I literally just told you 5 minutes ago. I said that I was
What was your
agnostic on the
first
definition that you
response
gave.
when I
I
told
told
you,
you
when
that
I
I
asked you
neither
what's your
agree
definition?
nor
No, you said you don't
disagree
agree.
with the
No, you said you
definition that
don't
you
agree.
gave.
You said you do not agree. Now you're saying
Yes,
you're
so that
agnostic on
entails.
whether or
Okay,
not it is the
okay,
case,
if, okay,
right?
okay. Do you not, okay. Paul, do you not think? Do you not think
Okay,
it's possible for me to
okay,
say that I'm
okay.
agnostic on the proposition and I don't agree with the proposition and I don't disagree with the proposition?
I don't think there's a contradiction. However, I believe there's a
Yeah,
distinction.
exactly.
Clearly, you said
Okay.
you said
Wait, no. What
agnosticism. You said
inconsistency do you believe there is?
agnosticism entails. Oh, you said
Wait.
agnosticism entails disbelief.
Yes, I said that agnosticism. I said that being
Okay,
agnostic
that's
on.
false.
I,
That's false.
I said being
That's
agnostic
false.
on a
You don't
belief.
understand it. Mm-hmm.
Hold up. I said that being agnostic on a belief entails that you neither disagree nor
Don't
agree
believe in it. Yeah, that's
with the
false. That's
proposition.
incorrect. Yeah, that's false.
Saying that I
That's
disagree
false.
with the proposition,
Why
it
do you
doesn't
feel so
mean I'm
confident
saying that.
in making these false claims, Rizzhan? That's a false
It is
claim. Do you agree with this?
not. Again, this is literally just the normal
It is not a
definition.
false claim to say that being agnostic on the proposition. Okay, let's be clear on one thing. It's not a false claim to state that being agnostic on the proposition entails disagreeing with the proposition, or sorry, not agreeing with the proposition. That's not a false claim.
Yes. Wait. Yeah. Oh my god.
It is a
Being
false
agnostic
claim.
on the proposition,
So
no,
you
no,
made a
it's
false
not a
claim.
false claim.
Wait,
Wait, no,
so
I just
you
told you that
made a
it's not a
false
false
claim,
claim.
right?
Being agnostic on the okay. Being
Wait,
agnostic on the proposition
hold
entails
on.
that
So
you do
what
not
about
agree with the
agnostic
proposition.
theism? Do you think there's a
What did you say?
contradiction in agnostic theism? Do you think there's a contradiction in agnostic theism?
And wait, what do you think agnostic theism is?
Agnostic theism is the viewpoint whereas you believe that God exists, but you don't have knowledge in the proposition being correct. Yeah. You learned something new. Is there a contradiction
No,
now?
wait, I don't okay.
I can even
So
give you
is
the
the
etymology
agnostic
of agnostic. Wait, do you even know the
Is
Greek
that wait, I
word?
need
Do you even
clarification
know?
on what you just said. I need
Oh,
clarification
you
on what you
need
said.
further clarification? Sure.
Yes, I need to ask something. That's why I just said I need clarification.
Hopefully
So
it's not a derailed question.
as I was asking, when you say that the agnostic theist believes that they don't have any knowledge on the proposition being true, but they believe in the proposition, are they saying that they are saying that the proposition is true, but they just don't know whether the proposition is true, or are they saying something
Yes,
different? Because
that's
I don't
what they're
understand.
saying.
Yeah, I don't believe. I think there's a contradiction.
Wait, hold on. Do you even know do you think you're using the conventional definition of the word agnostic?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know which Greek word the word agnostic comes from?
No.
Yeah, it comes from the word agnostus. By the way, it means unknowable, right? So all it means to be agnostic of the proposition is to just not know a proposition. And what that would entail, given the JTB account of knowledge, by the way, which is very traditional, is that you either don't
Why
have
would I accept that kind of
justification
noise?
because it is the traditional definition. Did you not just say you're using the
Just because
traditional
it's traditional
definition?
doesn't mean that I accept it. You
That's
decide
a
there are other
contradiction. You
accounts of
just stated
knowledge.
a while ago that you're using the conventional definition. If it's not
That's
traditional,
of
it's not
agnosticism.
conventional.
Oh my God! Wait, Apollo. Do
Whoa,
you
whoa, whoa, whoa,
understand
whoa,
the
whoa,
term
whoa.
that you just
You're
made makes no
stupid.
sense? Because I
If
said
you're
that.
using the traditional
Wait, no.
definition of
Wait,
agnostic, then you'd have to be going on
bro,
the traditional definition of knowledge.
Apollo. You do understand that I said that I'm using the
Yeah,
I'm
I'm saying
using
the
the
traditional
traditional.
definition of
Let me
agnostic,
finish.
but until you have
Let
the
me finish.
traditional definition of knowledge in the
Let me
background.
finish. I said that I'm using the traditional definition of being agnostic, but I didn't say that the reason why I believe in that definition is because it's the traditional one. What you just said is that the reason why the definition is true is because
Agnostic just means to not have
it's because
knowledge,
it's the
Rizzhan.
traditional one. What would you say?
Agnostic just means not having knowledge.
Okay, so you think that agnostic just means not having knowledge on the proposition?
Yes, if you don't have knowledge or if you don't know a proposition, then you're agnostic on the proposition.
Okay, but how would you? Okay, but according to you, the agnostic theist believes in the proposition, but they just don't know if the proposition is true. So, do you think there's a
Yes,
distinction between belief
they
there
haven't
and
satisfied
knowing
all the
it?
necessary conditions because believing the proposition is not a sufficient condition for knowledge.
Okay, so what do you think? What do you think it means
Is
for somebody to
belief in the
believe in a proposition?
proposition a sufficient condition for knowledge, Hassan?
Well, I
No.
asked you a question. No, I asked you a question. What do you think it means
No,
for
it
somebody
is
to
not a
believe in a
sufficient
proposition?
condition. It
I
is not
asked
a
you, what do you
sufficient
think it
condition.
means
Your
for
point
somebody
is
to believe in a
debunked.
proposition?
What does it mean for someone to believe in the proposition? Is that
What
what
do you
you're
think it
asking me?
means? Yes.
Are you fucking Jordan Peterson or something? What's it with this retarded fucking semantical question?
Wait, so you're just not going to answer the question?
You live for
Well,
it and you
I
die
don't think I
for it.
need to answer that question. Like, I think anyone knows what it means to believe in the proposition. But if you want me to answer the question, all it means to believe in the proposition is for there to be some sort of declarative sentence which your mental state is in acquaintance with.
Okay.
But even if I
So,
did not give the definition, why would you ask someone, what do you mean by belief? That's like one
so
of the most
okay.
autistic
So I can know
questions
the
anyone could
distinction
ever
you're
ask.
making between believing in a proposition and knowing the truth of the proposition.
Yeah, the distinction. Wait, do you not believe there's a distinction?
I'm unclear if that is a distinction. I'm
Oh,
agnostic
really?
on whether there is a
Oh, really?
distinction.
So hold on. So you're unclear on whether or not an appeal to belief fallacy is a sort of knowledge?
Well, what's the appeal to belief fallacy?
If I say that I believe this to be the case, you're agnostic on whether or not that's good justification instead of knowing that it is bad justification and not knowledge?
I'm not okay. I'm not saying that it's justification for the claim. I'm just asking you what the distinction is
You would
between
have to be saying
believing
this
and
if you're
knowing a proposition.
agnostic.
Oh my God.
You'd have to
Oh my
be
God.
agnostic on that claim. You'd have to be saying,
Wait.
so given your perspective, so given your epistemological perspective, Rizzhan, you cannot make a knowledge claim such as an appeal to belief fallacy is not sufficient for knowledge. You can't even make any claims regarding someone saying that believe in something is knowledge to be a false claim. You can't even make those confident assertions because guess what? You're unclear,
You're
autistically,
not
you're unclear in the distinction between belief and freaking knowledge or justification.
no. What I asked is, what is the distinction between somebody believing and somebody knowing a proposition?
Sorry, excuse me?
I said, why I asked that? In first person sense, so when somebody says that they know a proposition and when somebody says that they
Okay.
believe a proposition, do you think that they're making a distinction between those things? Asking in some kind of third personal sense, because obviously, if you might just define knowledge to be any true proposition that somebody
That's fucking
is
stupid.
currently aware of.
Do you know all true propositions?
What did you say?
Do you think we know all true propositions?
I think there are true propositions that we don't know.
Exactly. So you cannot adopt that semantics. You can't take true propositions to be conceptually synonymous with knowledge. That's completely. That's like
I
dumb.
said they were
Like
conceptually synonymous. You not
I'm
hear
not
my
saying you're saying
definition.
this. I'm saying you cannot do
Hold
this.
up, hold up,
You
hold up.
said this. You
I said
can. You
a
said you
true
can.
proposition that somebody is aware of. I said that true proposition that somebody is currently aware of. That's literally what I
Wait.
said. I didn't just say a
Hold
true
on.
proposition.
Hold on a second. Okay. So again, are you stating that your definition of agnostic is conventional? Actually, you said yes. So no need to even re-ask this question. Now, if you're stating this, and all it means to be agnostic on a proposition is to not know a proposition, right? I've given you the etymological origins or the origin of the word, right? The etymology of the word. All it means for someone to be agnostic on the proposition is to not know the proposition, to not have knowledge on whether or not the proposition is true or false. Then it blatantly follows from this definition that to be agnostic on the proposition is going to be something which entails not having JTB.
Can you repeat what you said? I was
Yes,
typing that.
I'm waiting for the response.
I just told you. Can you repeat? I was typing in chat.
I'm not even checking chat right now, bro. What are you
I said
talking
I
about?
was typing in chat.
Huh?
I
You were
said
tapping in
I
chat.
was
Okay.
typing in chat. Yes, while you were saying
Okay,
what you
you have
said.
ADHD. That's fine.
Wait, how does that tell me having
Let's
ADHD?
see. Let me
What?
check that real quickly.
Why is it calling me offensive?
Why is Spooky just so obsessed? This guy's like so obsessed.
He's a known weirdo. He's a known weirdo.
This guy thinks dating someone
Ironic, I'm
2
from
years
Penny, by the way.
younger is freaking pedophilic activities. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's like 2025 and people just throw around like labels that don't even apply to the situation. You know?
Yo, why the fuck are y'all up so early, bro?
Oh, that's a
It's
good
like 10
question. Well,
o'clock.
I'm
Nigga,
always
it's
up
like
early, but
10,
that's
bro.
pretty early in the
Thank you.
morning. You
It's
know?
9 o'clock, bro. It's not early at
Bro, I
all.
got work, nigga.
And
I
it,
got to go soon.
Let's say.
Your old ass always has work,
You
bro.
don't have a job. You don't have a job.
I'm sorry, not
I ain't gonna
Rizzhan.
lie, Rizzhan, you
Infinity, give
were
me premise
performing
on this
badly
account,
against
please.
Apollo. You
Give me
said
the premise
what?
on this account.
Got you.
Okay.
Hey, but Rizzhan, though, bro. Focus on losing to Apollo or this is bad. The nigga ratting. Yeah.
Not
You were
gonna lie,
buns.
Rizzhan kind of slamming, bro.
Yeah, he
No, he's
slammed it so
not.
badly that he doesn't even know what he's saying, bro. Yeah, I
Basically,
don't
No,
see
what
he
do
I
you
don't
didn't.
mean
see
He
by?
just
why
said
there will be a distinction between a belief and knowledge.
he just
But
said
that's
knowledge is a
this guy,
claim.
bro.
This
This
nigga is
guy
This
is
nigga
losing.
is so
So
You do
buns, bro.
understand
This
that?
nigga
You do
is
understand that I
zebra semen,
clarified?
bro.
Wait,
You are
wait, Infinity.
zebra semen, nigga.
Just so
Stop
like,
talking,
just so
bro.
you
You are
understand,
buns. You are
Infinity. Just so
buns,
you
bro.
okay, so
understand.
You are
Rizzhan,
buns. You
He
Rizzhan,
smell
said
if
a
you
like
could like
knowledge is a.
Infamous
He
must in my
said
keep
knowledge
the
is
nigga.
a
you guys
process.
gotta
Ah,
chill.
bro,
Cause like I'm
That's
a
not
bit
what I
like
said. Oh my God, Kailash just isn't tracking. Even
Fuck.
Apollo
You
can
You smell
literally
like
verify.
donkey feet, nigga. You are disgusting, bro. You are ass.
you
The
just said
fuck?
a JTB is a
Even
process,
Apollo can
bro.
verify. That's not
Infinity
what I said.
tell. Nigga's a bot.
Yeah.
so Rizzhan. Let's proceed with the
Yeah.
conversation. Now I'm saying there's a contradiction, and you believe in that you have a conventional definition of agnostic or being agnostic on the proposition, which is just not having knowledge of the proposition, right? You'd be incorrect if you're making this claim while simultaneously not using the JTB account of knowledge, which is the conventional definition of knowledge, which would be the type of thing which is baked into the definition of agnostic, which is to just not have knowledge. Comprende?
Yeah, I understand. Are you finished?
Okay, yeah, give your response if you even have any.
Yes. So what I was simply just saying is that obviously it's trivially true that when we say that okay, X knows Y proposition, that just entails that they're aware of the proposition and the proposition is also true, right? So they have a belief in the proposition, and the proposition is also true. And when we
And you're
say that we
taking
believe in
awareness to be the
and
same
when
as.
we say that we believe in the proposition doesn't have to be true. The proposition doesn't have to be true. So obviously that's trivially true, but that's not what I'm
So
asking.
what are you
What I'm
taking
saying,
knowledge to be,
what I'm
Rasan?
simply
Are you
saying is
taking
just
knowledge to
that.
be JTB
Wait,
or
wait, 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 wait,
non-JTB?
wait, wait. What I'm specifically, but if you let me finish, then you'll know what I'm saying. So what I'm specifically saying is that from when we have a person and that person says that, oh, I know X proposition, and that person says, oh, I also believe in X proposition. Do you think that they're trying to make distinction between the two things, or do you think that they're simply just saying the same thing from their
Okay,
perspective?
so are you taking knowledge to be JTB or non-JTB?
Well, again, I'm just agnostic on that. Like, I could go under
Okay,
it, but I don't
so
see
that
what's
means
the
you
difference.
cannot make the knowledge claim. You cannot make the knowledge claim that your definition of agnostic is the conventional definition.
Wait, how would I not be able to make the knowledge claim? It just like,
Because
is this like a Munchausen child?
agnostic by definition is not knowing a proposition. Be agnostic on whether your definition of knowledge, which is a necessary condition for the conventionality of the definition of agnostic to be the
I
conventional
don't take
definition.
that definition of agnostic.
Oh, really? So
Yeah,
you
I
deny
think
the
that I can bring
etymology
like
of the word
10,000
agnostic.
examples. Like,
Hold on. Excuse me?
I think I can bring up examples where I think the definition just fails.
Okay, so to be clear in this, right? Do you think it is the case that having a doubtful attitude towards something is not having knowledge of that?
Yeah, if you have a doubtful attitude towards it, then that's just inclusive of you not having knowledge of it. But I don't think they're the same
Okay, so
thing.
it entails not having knowledge.
But
So
it's not the
when I
same
said a
thing. For the
couple moments
definition to
ago,
fall through, they
when
have
I
to be
said
the
a,
same thing.
when I said a couple moments ago that agnostic linguistically translates to not having knowledge in the proposition, that was a correct claim, right?
Wait, what did you say? That was the definition that you gave agnostic, yeah.
Yeah, so you understand that the conventional definition of agnostic on Oxford Dictionary is not having, or sorry, having a doubtful attitude towards something.
But that's not the same thing as simply just not knowing it. It might be inclusive of it, but it's not the same
You
thing, which is
just
what I'm
said it
saying.
was. You just said it entails this,
You know,
right?
I never said it was the same thing. I said it was inclusive. I literally said this 3 times.
So you have, so you believe that having a doubtful attitude on something
I just
entails
told you
not
that I can
having
bring up
knowledge.
multiple counterexamples.
Answer my question, please.
What was the question? Just repeat it. I didn't hear.
Do you not believe that having a doubtful attitude towards something entails having an absence of knowledge?
Yes, if you're doubtful about a proposition, then that kind of implies that you don't know whether the proposition is true or
Not
not.
kind of, it definitively implies this in the
Yeah,
logical sense.
okay, so now go on to the next point.
So that's an agreement towards it definitively logically entails this proposition, Rizzhan? I don't care about your
No,
weasel games, okay?
wait,
So
no,
it is
that's not
inclusive
just
of this, but it is something which not entails this proposition? Interesting.
that's okay. I just
Hmm.
told you that. I just told you that X can entail Y, but that wouldn't mean that
It
Y
can
would be able to
entail. I'm
be a
asking,
sufficient.
does it entail this? Does
Wait.
it?
Okay, look. Okay, let me change it.
It's these
Let me
weasel
accurately capture
games
what
you
you're
love to
saying.
pull out. This is what you do,
No,
right? You play these weasel games.
let me accurately capture what you're saying, so I don't like misinterpret what you're saying. So
Okay,
X,
give it the best shot, man.
okay. So X can entail in reality. So X does. Let's say that X does entail Y, but just
It's
because
logically
X
possible that
entails
this is the
Y,
logical necessary feature.
wait.
So it's
Just because
necessarily the
X
case,
entails
given
Y,
all the logic.
just let me finish. When
Okay.
even if X entails Y, so if we say that X entails Y, that wouldn't suffice Y to be an actual definition for the statement,
Yeah,
not the statement in question,
Satyr's
but the word
purpose,
in
it
question.
would Satyr's purpose, it would be a sufficient condition. So you'd have to
No, I
add
said
some extra
definition.
qualifiers.
It's a definition. It wouldn't be a
That's
sufficient
my point.
definition.
Yes, I know. I'm saying you're making the claim that it entailing such would not be sufficient for it to be the definition of it. I'm saying it would be Satyr's purpose. So for it to not be the
What do you
case,
mean
you'd
by
have to add some
ceteris
extra
paribus?
qualifiers. So all else being equal, i.e., there are no additional qualifiers or layers to your semantical landscape, it would be a sufficient condition.
Oh my God. Wait, can I just ask you this quick question? So just so that I
If
can
it's
understand
not a
what you're saying.
zero question,
So
I'll
let's say
definitely answer
that.
the question.
Wait, no. Let's say that.
Oh, hypothetical language now. Oh, shit.
Wait.
Let's say
Let's
in
say
some
that.
fantasy
Let's say
world
that.
where
Wait, let's say that
unicorns
we have.
exist, guys. Great argument.
Wait. No. Can you just let me finish? So let's say that we
Grinder
have an
shot
object.
him, Trump.
Wait, okay. Let's say that we have a word. Like we have a word,
Okay.
and the word is cap, right? And the definition for cap is just being read. Now we analyze the definition for the cap, right? And we say that okay, what does being read entail? Okay, so being read entails being a color. That wouldn't entail that the definition of a cap is just being a color. So like, even if you're talking about this
Why would
all
it not
else
entail
Chill with
this?
the fake
Of
laughs,
course it
Rizzan.
would.
That shit not
It
rhetorical.
actually would. No, it actually
wait,
would. Swerson, it would. And
how would it
I'll help you out on this. I'll help. Oh, whoa. Just relax, okay? So, so it would entail this given the hypothetical. Because in the hypothetical, if you're going to say, for example, that cap, what it means for cap to be, or what a cap is being read, and it is the case that what it means to be read is to be a color, right?
That's not what I
Right?
said.
Or rather,
I
being a
didn't say
color.
that is the case. I said that entails being a color. So being
Okay,
red entails
let's
being a
just
color.
change it now. It entails this, okay? You understand that it would entail this under a ceteris paribus clause, i.e., all else being equal, if it is the case that being a cap entails being read, and it entails nothing else, which is why I baked in the ceteris paribus clause, then it would be sufficient condition for
No,
accurate
because there could be
evidence.
multiple colors distinct from being red. That's the whole
And
point.
that means it is not the case that all else is equal. Rasan, congratulations, you're getting it, right? So
Wait,
it would
no,
not
but the
be a
original
Sagittarius
proposition you
previous
made would
clause
just be
anymore.
false then.
Rasan, are you okay? Like
That
seriously.
the original proposition you made would just be false. Because if it's the
No,
case
like
that we can, if it's the
now I'm
case that
out
we
of
can
my
have,
debate bro mode,
wait,
and I'm
wait,
like
wait, wait,
genuinely,
wait,
I'm
Rizzhan
wait, wait,
genuinely
slamming.
concerned
wait, wait,
about your mental health.
wait, wait, wait,
You
wait,
know, it's like I
wait,
don't know
wait,
if I'm
wait,
talking
wait,
to a brick
wait,
wall or something.
wait.
Like I'm perplexed.
Can
Like
you let me? Can you let me finish what I was saying?
you weren't even talking. I was the one talking
Yeah,
before you were trying to
yes,
talk.
I was. Yes, I was talking. You just started
When
like
I was
talking about
talking,
my
yeah,
mental
you
health.
were. Yeah, when I started talking already, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so I just want to finish what I was saying.
So you're not done speaking. You make like a 15-second pause, but actually had more to say, Rasan.
You got a blunt full of
Because you started yapping about something in between. Like what?
Oh yeah, maybe if I use the word yapping to, I don't know, label my opponent's rhetoric, people can be more convinced by my debating style, guys. Oh
No,
shit,
I
so
wasn't
we're
saying that
talking
people would be
persuasive.
convinced by that. I wasn't even like
Oh,
entailing it.
sorry, Rasan. It's called irony, by the way. You know, like when you do meta commentaries, I'm not saying you're actually saying this.
But I think you're just running away from the main substance of the
Yeah,
conversation.
it's not running away.
Yeah, yes, it is. Because we're talking about
Running away to
the
talk about
entailments of
one's target
definitions.
strategy.
We're talking about the
Okay,
entailments
cool.
of definitions.
Okay, so I see what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to meta debate me on whether or not I was running away to actually run away from the
No, wait,
conversation.
what?
You're slick though, but it's not gonna work on me. Look, so let's get back to the point, okay? So do you agree that your hypothetical would not be applicable towards a Saddler's Paribus
No,
clause?
I don't agree.
Oh shit. So the possibility of a cap meaning or entailing something more than just red would be compatible with the hypothetical being a Saddler's Paribus condition.
You didn't understand what I was saying, bro.
Oh, now you're gonna ask me a question, right? Is that
No, I
what
said you
you're gonna
didn't
do right
understand what
now?
I was saying. So
Oh, and is this supposed to be a counter argument or is this supposed to be your opinion?
no,
Which
it's
one is it?
supposed to be just saying that the argument you're making, the statements you're making
Which
right now,
one is
aren't
it?
accurately
Oh,
capturing what
sorry.
I'm
That
saying.
was another response to my question, Rizzhan.
I said that what you're saying right now is not
It's
actually
an
capturing
opinion.
what I'm
It's an
saying. So
opinion.
you're just
Okay, who
punching at air. You're
different?
shadow boxing. That's what I'm saying. So there's no
You
point of doing
when
this
did
if
you
you're just
learn
gonna
the
start.
line? Oh shit, that was so creative, man. But look, I'm proud of you. Look, back to what I was talking about. Okay, is it the case that you believe this to be compatible? You said yes. Now you understand that if it is the case that the cap entails more than just the condition of being read, then it's not the case that all else is equal insofar as there's no other condition which could change the entailments or the collection of all entailments of the definition of the word cap.
What did you say at the last part of the
What
question?
I'm telling you, what I'm telling you is that when you're saying all this is equal, we're stipulating that the thing that's been specified is the only thing true of that given thing. Okay. Now, if it is if the only thing true of the concept of cap is that it entails being read, then clearly it would be the case that it does not entail anything else. So if you're going to say that it could entail something else, then those possibilities do not encapsulate a ceteris paribus condition or clause, which is what the crux of my argument actually is stipulated on.
I literally don't think. Okay. Number one, I literally don't think that anything you're saying. Look, I don't
It's
think anything you're
relevant.
saying even
You
matters
don't think I'm
because
tracking.
look, wait,
You
wait,
don't think I'm you don't think
wait,
what I'm saying is
just let me
relevant. You don't
finish.
think this
Wait,
is
just let me
responding
finish,
to what
bro.
you're
Wait,
saying.
just let me finish. Wait, I
I
let you
can see the
finish.
typical weasel responses.
Wait, wait,
10 seconds ahead,
wait,
buddy.
I let you finish when you were speaking, so I just want you to do the same thing for me at least. Like, I'll literally let you go on for how long you want it to go on. I just like want to have this short window where I can actually speak. So again, look, all I'm saying is that even if we consider it all else equal, right? Well, let's say that let's say that we have a definition. I mean, no, let's say that we have a word, right, and the word is just bachelor, and I say, okay, what it means to be a bachelor is just to be an unmarried man, and to be an unmarried man just entails that you're an unmarried person. But it doesn't mean that the definition of it would now suffice that the definition of a bachelor is just an unmarried person because it doesn't actually
It
fully
would under
encapsulate
a
being
ceteris
an
paribus
unmarried man.
clause, Rizzhan. What you're doing here is you're drawing examples of case scenarios where it is not the case that all else
Wait, what do you
is
think it
equal.
means all else to be equal?
It's talking about all the other facts of that given thing, right? So if it is the case that all else is equal, instead of there being a differentiating condition, which would make it non-equal, which would make it not be identical
Yeah, but
to
in
this
this
other
case, what
given
would be
thing
the
we talked about,
differentiating condition?
then it would not be a ceteris paribus clause, Rizzhan.
Wait. Okay, so in this, okay. So can you just give me an example where all else would be equal and we'd be talking about this?
Given any sort of analytic fact,
I just want an instance or an
So
example.
you have a bachelor and you have an unmarried man. These are two identical concepts with different, you could say, labels. Now, the reason as to why it is the case that these two concepts are identical is because there's no other fact about these conditions or concepts which
Okay,
makes
good.
them
Yeah,
distinct.
okay, good. I agree with
Okay,
that.
so that would be an all else being equal type situation, whereas all else is equal, and so that's why they are identical. Now, the same logic applies to the case of the, hold on, give me 1 second, of the cap example. If a cap is red, or sorry, what it means for a cap to be a cap is for it to be red, right? And what it means for something to, or sorry, an entailment of something being red is for it to be a color, right? If all else is equal, and there's nothing else about these two different labels, which is being red and being a color, which makes them different, then trivially they would be identical. And so the whole idea is that the example you're
You're not
given,
understanding.
hold on, give me 1 second. The example you're given is not actually establishing or responding to a ceteris paribus condition clause.
Okay.
You're not understanding? Is that
Yeah,
what you're gonna say? Or are you gonna give an actual response?
I literally do not care. I literally don't understand how all else equal if P entails Q.
I saw it.
And
Saw it
P
miles
do I-
away. Woohoo! Saw it miles away. You're like it's the same responses, man. It's the same response. No, I've just broken it down. It's like explaining to an autistic kid named Johnny, right? Why 2 plus 2 equals 4,
Wait.
and they just
Okay,
cannot
let me just
understand
ask.
it.
Let me just ask another quick question. Right? Let's say that. Let's just go back to the bachelor example. So obviously, being a bachelor just entails being an unmarried man, and then being an unmarried man just entails being an unmarried person.
Yeah, and
And
so
what
the
about the
concepts
situation
are equivalent. So all else is equal insofar as anything else, right, relevant to those concepts would be equivalent, which makes them identical.
I don't agree to that though.
Oh, you think there's something outside of this specific thing
No,
regarding bachelor and
I'm
unmarried
simply
man,
just
which
asking
makes
you.
them different?
I'm simply just asking you what. Okay.
I'm not
So
asking you what your question is. I'm asking you what's your perspective on what I question.
But Apollo, I'll answer the question. I just want a quick clarification. So when I gave the bachelor example, I'm saying that okay, a bachelor is an unmarried man, then being an unmarried man entails being an unmarried person. But being an unmarried person doesn't entail being a bachelor. So
That's
what
not a
about the situation is
clarifying
not all else equal?
question.
Wait, no. What about the situation is not all else equal?
I just told you, right? You quite literally
What
agreed to the
specific fact about the situation is not all else equal?
Oh, you're talking over me. You quite
I asked you a
literally
question.
agreed to the example I've given. You're still doing it. So you quite literally agreed to the definition or I've given or the condition I've given for a ceteris paribus clause. Okay, it is the case that all else is equal insofar as there is no given fact about that thing external to the fact being analyzed, which would make them different.
Then according to
Got
you,
you?
according to what you're saying, then all else equal, all what entailment means is just being identical. Well, I don't think that what all else equal, that's what it means. I think
You
all else
understand?
equal,
What does
means
it mean for
something
something to be? What does ceteris paribus mean, Rizwan? Because remember, you didn't even know what the fucking word mean. I had to break it down for you.
yes,
You asked
according
what
to
the
you,
ceteris
it is
paribus
all
mean.
else equal.
According to me, yeah, just me alone, right? Let's just act as if it's not like what everyone else
That's not what I
believes
said. I just said
about this
according
term.
to you. So what, based on what
Yeah,
you
when you're
said, it
saying
is.
according to me, there are certain social implications. Rizwan.
Just go
One
on
of
to what
these,
you want to say,
one of
bro. Just
these,
go on to what
one
you
of
want to
these
say.
implications, one of these implications being that it's just something I made up, and if it's not,
I don't.
that's what you're implying.
I have
The
any
other
right to
implication,
that's what you want
the
to say.
other implication is that you don't even know
I don't
that
have any
other
right there.
people.
There's no barrier
What are you
left.
even
You're
saying?
just gonna have to go on to what you say.
I'm gonna have to ground what I'm saying. You're agnostic on whether Saturd's previous means all else being equal.
Well, I never said you're
Hmm?
going to have to ground it, so you have to just carry on
Oh,
because I'm
sorry.
on low
I couldn't
battery.
understand because you're busy mumbling. Gotta
I
speak
said
up,
that I was
Chip
on
Jump.
low battery.
Oh yeah, I couldn't understand what you're saying. You're mumbling.
Okay, now just
And
go
that's
on.
okay. Okay, so you think it is the case, then my definition is incorrect or it's inaccurate in capturing what most common folks mean. So go ahead, smart depends. Educate us. What does all else being equal mean?
So when we talk about all else equal, all we're saying is that there are no external. So we're not considering any external or
Oh,
extreme facts
oh,
about the
oh,
situation. Wait,
oh,
let me finish. We're
oh.
not considering any. We're not considering any external or extreme
Yo,
facts about the situation that would make it such that that would make it such that a major facts or major aspect of the
oh,
situation has now been
oh,
changed.
oh, oh. It's almost as if you're agreeing with me. Like, I don't think you understand. Like,
No, but I think you're
like
using it in the wrong way.
oh wow, yeah, yeah. So I'm not sure if you're okay today, like you need to take your meds or something, but I quite literally specified in my definition, Rasan, that there are not going to be any external facts which makes them different, which clearly is identical. Do you not place into
But that's not all else
consideration any
equal.
external facts? So
That's
what
not
you're
being honest.
telling me is that what are you saying?
Wait, what did you say?
Hello? You said something, but that's fine. I'm just gonna ignore it. Look, what you just said a while ago is that what it means for you to mention an all else being equal clause is for you to state that you're not considering any external facts. If you're talking about something being red, being a color, right, and then you're considering certain possibilities, right, like for example, being red being more than just being a color, okay, like you have other colors which are not red, those would be considering external facts, external features,
I
which
don't think that's an
could
external.
impact the semantical identity.
I think that is incorporated within the semantic identity already.
That
They're not being
presupposes
included
that
within the
they're not
semantic already.
identical. It's
But no,
incorporated that
you're
this
already
possibility
presupposing
exists.
that it would be an external fact. Why would it be an external fact?
That's not what I'm presupposing.
Okay, so what are you presupposing? What are you saying? Are you not saying
If
that
you're
these are external
making any
facts?
sort of reference, if you're making any sort of reference, okay. By the way, if you're making any sort of reference, which would change the definition, or rather would make it the case that you're non-identical, then whatever those references would be
Yeah,
could
that's just the
not be
question,
something
Big.
which is internal.
That's just the question, Big. Nice.
When did I give an argument where the conclusion is identical to my premise or is assumed by the
I think that there's a chain of statements that you made which implies a question, Big.
and so I'm asking you in these chain of statements, which statement or premise within these chain of or within this chain of statements presupposes or is identical to the conclusion?
Because I don't want to be interrupted here. But what you said just now is that the reason why it's not an external fact, or the reason why it is an external fact, or an external fact, is because it's not identical, or there's no identity between these
No,
two
I'm
things.
saying it would impact the
Already
identity
that's already what's
considering
in question.
that being the
That's
case.
what's in question. So you're just repeating the claim to justify the original claim.
You
That's
you
what's
just
in
you
question.
just you just self dunked. You just committed the self dunk moment. Just watch this. No, I never made the claim that they are not identical. I said that these things, if considered and was to be true, could impact the identity between being red and being a color, which is true. If it is the
No, but
case that you have
okay,
colors
but
which are
that's
not
what's
red,
in question.
then clearly it entails that being a color and being red are not the same.
But that's presupposing that
So
there
that
is
would
not
be an
already within
external
the
fact.
semantic content. That's presupposing that it's not already within the semantic content of these two things. And
No,
that's
it
what's in
doesn't.
question. So you're just repeating what's in
No, it doesn't.
question.
The reason that's why it does not presuppose this
Wait,
response
Apollo, we
is
can just
because
conclude, bro. Apollo, we can just conclude, bro.
this is
We just
what
go
you
to
do,
conclude.
right? So you realize you got pissed on, so you run over the
No,
conversation by saying,
bro,
"Oh, let's
if you
conclude,"
think that you
because
want a
you know,
conversation, wait,
because
Apollo.
you know.
If you think that you
The
want a
next
conversation, if you think that you want
rebuttal
a
I'm gonna give
conversation,
is about to crush
no,
your
if you think that
position.
you want a
Just
conversation,
I ain't
absolutely
gonna lie, I ain't gonna
demolish.
lie.
bro, if you
Look,
think that you want the conversation,
we're not doing this. No. Okay, so Rizzhan, you're not about to complain about a nigga cutting you off and then cut them off as soon as you realize you're getting fucking slammed. So Apollo, go ahead. Rizzhan, you can speak after. I'll do the same mute when it comes to him if I want to continue.
Got you. So it's what you're talking about, Rizwan. When you're saying that all else is equal, we're saying that there's nothing which would make it the case that these two things, right, would be, or to say, there's no differentiating feature between these two things, right, outside of the things being analyzed. If you're stating here that all else is equal insofar as being red and being the color, and you're also stating at the same time that it would not entail this, then you'd either have to be making one of these two, which is number one, right? Being a color and being red are not semantically identical, or number two, if this is the case, that there's something else outside of such which would make them non-identical, even if they were to be semantically identical. If you're making the first proposition, that would not be applicable towards the case we're talking about here, regarding why I specifically talked about the knowledge thing. And if you're making the second proposition, right, then that requires justification. Right.
I'll mute him if he interrupts you, Rizzhan. Go.
yep. Okay, well, this he can be.
Chop chop. Get the argument
Yeah,
out.
yeah, because I was serving you. But anyways, now that I'm not
You were
serving
not serving it for the last 10
what?
seconds.
Yes, but when he said try to get the argument, I just got server muted. So I
No,
was
you
explaining to you why I
wouldn't.
couldn't say it.
I think you
Nigga, just
mean
get
you
to the
just
argument.
got
Get to the argument. Get to the
unserved,
argument.
retard, and
Yeah, I got
secondly, you
one.
got unserved muted like for the past 10 seconds, 20 seconds.
Yeah, yes,
All
that's
right, go,
what I'm getting at.
Rizzhan.
No, yeah. Anyways, as I was saying, the reason why all I'm saying is that what you're saying is the question. It's not really adding anything new to the conversation or any new justification to the conversation. Just that you're saying that okay, if we have these new external factors and these new external factors make it just that being red and being color aren't the same thing, then it's not all else equal anymore. But what's in question is whether these external factors are actually external factors. What I'm saying is that it seems to already be baked into the semantic content of being a color. There are multiple ways of thinking being a color, and it also seems to be baked into the semantic content of being red. That being red isn't just being a color, right? Because obviously it seems to be in the semantic content of what we mean when we say colors, or what we mean when we refer to color is that okay, you can be a color of blue, or you can be a color of red, you can be a color of purple, etc., etc. That's all I'm saying. But you're already presupposing that these things are external factors which are outside the semantic content of what's in question here. Now, what I'm simply just saying is that the reason why you are begging the question in this situation is that we actually need justification for you to demonstrate that it's external to the definition of being a color, that there are multiple colors, or there are multiple ways to be a color, or that it's external to the definition of being red, that there isn't just one way to be a color, right? Obviously, like just being red means you're a color, but being red doesn't mean it's identical to what it means to be a color, because there are multiple things, multiple colors that aren't red yet are still colors. And so that's the reason why I'm saying you're begging the question, because it's already presupposing that it's not baked in with the semantic content of these words to actually convey those meanings. And so I'm just telling you that I need justification for that. Hence why I say beg the question.
Yeah, the problem here is simply that you made the claim originally that it does not entail this, which presupposes that there are in fact other qualifiers which makes them different. And by the way, you're given a hypothetical. So the hypothetical was not meant to reflect the real world insofar as clearly it is the case they're not the same thing, like everyone fucking knows this, but it was supposed to attack a previous argument I've given, which you forgot, by the way, because you're retarded. Okay? So I'm telling you that as it relates to what you're talking about, when you're saying it does not entail this, you'd have to be saying they're not identical, right? If they're identical, then clearly it is the case that it would be false for it to make the assertion it does not entail this. Now, again, you're indexing the factuality or the veracity of this claim based off what is true of the real world, but you're given a hypothetical. And you've yet to actually address more relevant points of the conversation. Like, for example, how it could be the fucking case that you believe in this sort of definition of agnostic, whereas agnostic means to not have knowledge and to not have, or sorry, not have knowledge, or sorry, not having a, or having a doubtful attitude entails not having knowledge. You can't believe in these things, right? Independently of there being any sort of extra qualifiers to make a difference, right? While making the claim that you are adopting the conventional semantics. You can't make these claims simultaneously. You'd have to be saying, okay, having a doubtful attitude entails not having knowledge, cool. And it is not the case that not having knowledge is identical or entails having doubtful attitude because of XYZ reason. If there are no XYZ reasons, which would make it the case that having a doubtful attitude, or sorry, not having knowledge is identical or entails having a doubtful attitude, then earlier it would be identical. And so it would entail that your definition of agnostic and you making the claim that you don't believe in the JTB account would be too incompatible. Or you could say beliefs, right?
Yeah, if you want, we can just conclude because I literally have to go in like a few minutes, like a few seconds actually.
Bro, I mean, it's pretty obvious you're lost. You made some really dumb points, like, vegan, right? So vegans who believe
I
that
don't think I
humans and
lost last
animals
time.
have equivalent moral values, right? They can also believe that it is okay in some cases to eat animals, but it is not okay in any case to eat humans, right? Like that's like so retarded, right? Like, how could they have equivalent moral value if it is the case that the moral justification regarding actions being committed to these two entities are not identical? That's a contradiction, right? But, you know, I mean, I think that's just absurd from the get-go, and you know it's absurd. You know, try to play these semantic weasel games with what the moral distinction is. It's just sad,
Dang, he
Rizzhan.
left.
Sad.
Wait,